Evolution, a merciless cycle for the greater good of life on Earth. Charles Darwin, an English naturalist, published the book The Origin of Species to explain his theory behind evolution. Before I talk more about the book itself, here's a little on the author. Charles Darwin was born on February 12, 1809, in Shrewsbury, England. Between 1818 and 1825, he studied at the Anglican Shrewsbury School. There, he was bullied for studying science. Adrian Desmond in his article stated, "Science was then considered dehumanizing in English public schools, and for dabbling in chemistry, Darwin was condemned by his headmaster." Despite being bullied for his interest in science, he never gave it up. Years later, he sailed around the globe for 5 continuous years, studying nature aboard the HMS Beagle. From this voyage, he was able to draw up his theory of natural selection, and 20 years later, he published the details of it in his book, The Origin of Species. The book is centralized around his theory of natural selection, which still stands to this day. Natural selection is one of the theories evolution is built upon. Now, what is natural selection anyway? Simply put, it is when animals better adapted to their environment have a better chance to reproduce. Here's a deeper explanation though. Individuals of a population will vary from each other. This means there are differences between them, whether it's in their coloration, size, etc. Sometimes, a slight difference increases its rate of survival, or probability to reproduce. A buildup of these beneficial differences will grant the adapted individuals an even better chance to survive. This is where the phrase, survival of the fittest, originates from. The members of the population who aren't born with these advantages will inevitably die off. This is the general premise of natural selection. To help further understand this, here's an example. There is a pack of lions chasing after a herd of antelopes. The antelopes are running for their lives, and the lions are desperate for a meal. As the antelopes run, the fastest ones are naturally at the front of the herd, while the slowest ones are stuck at the back. The lions are more easily able to target and catch the slower antelopes. Over time, the lions continually kill the slower antelopes, so only the fastest ones are left to reproduce. This cycle results in the antelopes becoming faster and faster, which is what natural selection is based upon: survival of the fittest. And this leads me into Darwin's next big point: struggle for existence. This is crucial to Darwin's theory of natural selection and the process of evolution. Struggle for existence is the difficulties a species has to face to survive. Some examples of this are climate, limited food, competition, and predation. These forces drive natural selection and evolution. Darwin shows climate isn't the main force pushing natural selection. Instead, it's competition and predation. An intense type of competition is intraspecific competition. This is when there's competition for resources between members of the same species. Darwin didn't discuss much, if any, about it in his book, and I believe this is something he should have discussed more. It could have led to some strong points supporting his argument in natural selection. A species that faces intraspecific competition is the elusive vampire crab. They're omnivores, which means their diet consists of both meat and plant matter. Vampire crabs are also very territorial. They fight each other for the best hiding spots and greedily defend food they find. This results in harsh competition between the crabs. Furthermore, this is intraspecific competition. This is not even the worst of it, though. Vampire crabs are cannibalistic towards their young. Because vampire crabs are opportunistic feeders, baby crabs are a perfectly fine meal for them. This is a harsh example of the struggle for existence. Some species get around this problem though. This is because their young have adapted to eat different food than their adult counterparts. A prime example of this is the butterfly. Caterpillars, the larval stage of a butterfly, consume plant matter and never have to compete with adults of its species. This is because butterflies consume nectar and never even interfere with its young. The butterfly shows how evolution has ceased intraspecific competition between adults and their young. Without a struggle for existence, organisms would have no need to evolve. They would remain the same and their numbers would increase exponentially. Because of the struggle for existence, populations stay balanced and the fragile ecosystems around us are able to sustain themselves. Sometimes, though, a species cannot keep up with the struggle for existence, and they eventually become extinct. Some naturalists believe this is the inevitable end for every species. Darwin wrote, "Authors have even supposed that as an individual has a definite length of life, so have species a definite duration." Darwin 256. Once a species goes extinct, it's impossible for it to ever reappear. This is just another part of the struggle for existence. Something else Darwin stressed throughout the book was variation under domestication. This refers to different animal varieties that have been produced by humans. For thousands of years, humans have been domesticating and breeding animals. When doing so, they bred the animals with desired traits for their own benefit. Sometimes, they also breed animals for desired traits unconsciously. An example of this is when Darwin stated, he may do it unconsciously by preserving the individuals most useful to him at the time, without any thought of altering the breed. Darwin 368. Present day, we still breed animals for desired traits, and this is called selective breeding. An example of a selectively bred animal is the chicken. People have bred them for generations upon generations so that the chickens produce larger and larger eggs. Darwin argued that if animals could change under domestication, then there is no reason why they can't also change in the wild, further supporting his theory of natural selection. Even though his theory is considered accurate today, it wasn't always this way. During his time, Darwin's theory was rivaled by other eminent naturalists who believed in the theory of creation. The theory of creation was based on the premise that every species was independently created. Darwin said, "How strange is it that a bird, under the form of a woodpecker, should have been created to prey on insects on the ground? That upland geese, which never or rarely swim, should have been created with webbed feet." Darwin 371. In this quote, he was asking the reader, why would a geese be individually created with the useless adaptation of webbed feet? Or why would a bird be designed to hunt ground-dwelling insects? He concludes the only logical result of this is speciation, which is the formation of a new species through evolution. His theory is still relevant to this day. For example, have you heard of the disease called the coronavirus? Well, its variants, such as the Delta variant, are products of natural selection and evolution. The Delta variant has developed a beneficial variation of being able to spread more quickly. This is the direct result of natural selection. This theory is what makes Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, a world classic. A world classic is a book that has a timeless quality and relevance. Because natural selection has been occurring since life first appeared and will continue until the extinction of all species, The Origin of Species is a timeless classic. His theory made a jump in our understanding of the natural world around us and how life came to be. It is this theory of natural selection that furthers our understanding of evolution and its infinite complexities. So, take a walk outside and take a closer look at the life around you, whether it's the grass on your lawn or the birds above. Take a moment to think every living thing around you was the product of evolution.